بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. So we are reading from Tadrib Al-Salik, أقرب المسالك في مذهب الإمام مالك, and this is an abridgment in Maliki jurisprudence. In our last session we had finished primarily most of it Bab al-Zakat, or dealing with charity giving, obligatory charity giving in Islam. And generally, Zakat al-Fitr is usually included in the same chapter as Zakat al-Mal. Sometimes it's included with the chapter about fasting. Here it's kind of a transition between fasting and Zakat. And Zakat al-Fitr is the type of charity to be paid on the day of Eid after Ramadan is completed. So it's a very specific type of zakat. And generally the conditions for one having to give it are very similar to having to give zakat al-mal. So we'll read that very short kind of bahth on it. So he says رحمه الله في زكاة الفطر يجب بالسنة إخراج صاع وهو 4 أمداد والمد رطل وثلث رطل والرطل 128 درهما كل 10 دراهم 7 مثاقيل وذلك زنة 80 ريالا فرنسيا إن فضل عن قوت يومه وقوت عياله. So he says here it is obligatory by the way of the sunnah of our Prophet ﷺ, إخراج صاع, that one gives a sa'a, which is a measurement, as we went over last time, equivalent to arba'atu amdad, and the mud is the mud of the Prophet ﷺ, which is 2 outstretched hands, and to be full and even over full. So it's not just kind of filling the hands, but it's actually quite a bit more than that. It's about 3 cups or so, English measurement. And then he goes on to say that the mud is 1 1/3 pounds, going by the particular English measurement, where the pound is equivalent to 120 dirhams, and every 10 dirhams is 7 mathaqil, and that is about the weight of 80 riyals, French riyals, in fadl an qut yawmihi. So that part means if one has enough to feed their family and their children, and they have more than that, then they should pay Zakat al-Fitr. And going by modern measurements in terms of volume, it's about 2 2/3 liters, so almost 3 liters in terms of volume. Of course, that's going to differ depending upon what you're giving. We'll see in the Maliki school that one should give that which is a staple food of the people of your locale, something that is a staple food, and also something that can be stored. So again, we're talking about grains or peas and things of that sort. Dates, if you happen to have dates. So that it depends on how much that's going to weigh, but we're talking about almost 3 liters worth, and that's going to be probably at least 2 kilos. So we're talking 4 to 4.5 pounds, depending upon what it is. And we'll get a little bit into more about, can I give it in money or can I give it, which is the common question, which will come later. وهل الوجوب بليلة العيد أو فجره خلاف? And does it become obligatory on the day or the night before Eid, which would be Maghrib, or Fajr, which would be the following day? That's khilaf. There's a difference of opinion. And usually we would say, ما هو أنسب للفقير, whichever is more beneficial to the person who's the recipient. Why is this going to be important? Well, let's say Allah gives you a blessing and you have a baby, before Fajr. Then, if you're going by the first opinion, which is by Maghrib, then you would that baby would be actually for the second opinion, if it have before Fajr, so by Fajr you have the baby, then that would be included in the number of people, because you're going to pay for the number of people you have in your household. And the reverse is true. If someone passes away before that time, then also he would be omitted. So whichever would be more beneficial, then we go by that particular khilaf. So he says here, فَيُخْرِجُ عَنْ نَفْسِهِ وَعَنْ زَوْجَتِهِ وَمَمَالِكِهِ وَالذُّكُورُ مِنْ أَوْلَادِهِ حَتَّى يَبْلُغُوا قَادِرِينَ عَلَى الْكَسْبِ وعن الإناث حتى يدخل بهن الأزواج وعن أبويه الفقيرين وخادهما وزوجة الأب. So anyone who's a part of your household is what he's saying. So for yourself, for your wife, for people who are servants who are living with you. He says mamalik, which means people in bondage, but this could also mean if you have live-in help, then they would also be, they're not slaves, but if they're live-in help, then you would be responsible also for people of your household. وَالذُّكُورُ مِنْ أَوْلَادِهِ, and also males, sons, that is, or other people, nephews, whoever are living in the house with you, until they are old enough to make their own living, but if they're still in the house, so they can be still post-pubescent, but you still have to pay for them if they're kind of living in your house and you're still supporting them. وعن الإناث, and also the females until they leave the house and are married. وعن أبويه الفقيرين, and also for your parents if they're not able to pay for themselves, and also their servants, and also زوجة الأب, and also the wife of the father if it's other than the mother. Then all of those people one should pay Zakat al-Fitr. So that's 2 2/3 liter, or about 4 pounds, whatever worth, for each person. فيخرج عن كل فرد صاعا إن قدر وإلا أخرج مقدوره. So you should pay for every individual a sa'a, as we said, which is 4 أمداد, which is about 2 2/3 liter. إن قدر, if one is able. وإلا أخرج مقدوره. Otherwise, if you can do less than that, like if you have 7 people in your household and you only have enough for 4, then you give 4. ويجب أن يكون المخرج من أغلب قوت البلد في رمضان من هذه التسعة. And also, it is obligatory that which you give should be from amongst what is the staple food during Ramadan from these 9 categories that we mentioned before in Zakat al-Mal. القمح والشعير والسلط والزبيب والتمر والأرز والدخن والذرة والإقط وتعين أحدهما إن اقتيت أو اقتيته وإلا فمن غالب المقتات من غيرها. So one of the 9 grains or so that we mentioned, so whether wheat or barley, the various form of grains and wheats, raisins, dates, rice, corn, those categories, things that are the staple diet, then those are the things that should be given out of in terms of the 4 pounds or so each. وَتَعَيَّنَ أَحَدُهَا إِنْ اقْتِيت. In other words, one of them, a specific one of them may be obligatory if that is the one that is being stored. So if you lived in mid-century United States, in the Midwest, for example, and grains were stored or corn was stored, then that would be the thing that you would have to give. وإلا فمن غالب المقتات من غيرها. Otherwise, from that which is from the majority of that which people store in general. ويحرم تأخيرها إلى الليل. And it is haram to delay it until the night. The day of Eid, that is. So it should be given out during the day before Maghrib. That's the obligatory part. ويكفي عزلها لمن نويت له. Right? If someone's not around and they had the intention but they were not to do it, then you can give on their behalf. والأفضل إخراجها بعد الفجر وقبل صلاة العيد. And the best thing to do is after Fajr but before Salat al-Eid. Why? Because the idea is that the day of Eid, after fasting, that no one should feel like we don't have anything to eat. We don't have anything to celebrate with. So in this case, if you give it to them after Salat al-Eid or after at night, it's too late. So after Fajr and then before the Eid prayer. Now, generally, most people now, there's kind of automated ways to do this, and you have organizations that do it on your behalf, and they try to do it before that time. That's all perfectly okay. You don't have to actually do it yourself. وإنما تدفع لفقير مسلم, and it should be paid to a Muslim who is in need, not a non-Muslim. Zakat al-Fitr, because it is connected with Ramadan and fasting. ويجوز أعطاء صاع لمساكين أو آصع لمسكين وتقديمها بيومين. It's also permissible to give, to distribute the one sa', so the one amount of 2 2/3 liter to several people. They split it. Or you can give several shares worth, like 2 or 3 to one person. So it doesn't have to be a one-to-one correspondence. It could be one share for many, or it could be several shares for one. وَتَقْدِيمُهَا بِيَوْمَيْنِ. And also you can give it up like a day or two before Eid, right? The idea is that they're going to have it by Eid. So it could be the day before, or 2 days before. ويجزئ إخراج أهل المسافر عنه إن أمرهم أو أعتادوه. And also, it is permissible to give it to the someone who's traveling, who's not around. And if he usually gives, but he's not around to do so, then you could do it on their behalf. If he tells them to, or usually he does, but he forgot to say it this time, then that's okay. And also the one before, actually, يكفي عزلها لمن نويت له. Someone, the recipient is not around, but you set it aside for them until they come back, that's okay too. But you had the intention to give it to them even though they're not around. ولا تجب على عاجز وقت الوجوب. And it's not obligatory for someone who, at the time of wujub, that's why we said Fajr and Isha, right? Either Maghrib and Fajr. So Maghrib, which is the last Maghrib in Ramadan, or the first Maghrib in Shawwal, because the fasting ends, the day ends at Maghrib. If at that point in time you don't have it, right? You're not in a means to have it. This is the ajiz, then you don't have to give it. Versus if it was Fajr the next day, let's say something happened to you overnight, and you received funds, or you received the means by which to give it, then that's why there's a khilaf, difference of opinion. So if at Maghrib you didn't have it, then you don't have to worry about it. If we go by the opinion by Fajr, then means if at Fajr you have it, then you have to give it, so forth. وتندب إن أيسر بها قبل الغروب. And it is recommended تندب إن أيسر بها قبل الغروب. So let's say at Asr time on the day of Ramadan, you have it, and you're not waiting until Maghrib to see if you still have this or not, then tundab, it's recommended that you make the intention to give it for the miskin or the faqir. والمفرط يقضيها وإن طال الزمن وجوبا والله أعلم. And the mufarrit is the one who is negligent or didn't do it for whatever reason, then it remains a debt. وإن طال الزمن, right? No matter how long, 20 years later, you recall, I didn't pay Zakat al-Fitr that year and I had the means to do so, then one should do so. Wallahu a'lam. So, if you pay money and then someone else, an organization, then buys on your behalf sha'ir, barley, wheat, and they dispense it, then that's the same thing, right? So there's two transactions here. There's a wakala, tawkil, you deputize or agentize someone to do it on your behalf, and you give them money to do so, then you also have done it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be you have to want to give the barley or the wheat, and so forth. In the Maliki school, technically, cash or money should not be given directly, because the idea is it's a day of celebration, and they should have the food that's provided for them, and they don't have to ask people for it. The Hanafi school, I believe, allows you to give the qima, allows you to give the amount or the equivalent amount, and that's an opinion to follow. But I'm not aware that such an opinion is the dominant or the majority opinion in the Maliki school. Wallahu a'lam. And that brings us into Kitab al-Sawm. So now a whole new chapter dealing with fasting. So we'll begin that, inshallah. الصوم رابع أركان الإسلام فرض في السنة الثانية من الهجرة. Fasting is the fourth pillar of Islam, and it was obligatory or made obligatory in the second year of the Hijrah, second year after the Hijrah of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Even though there was fasting before that, forms of fasting. The Prophet ﷺ fasted before that, And obviously the Quran tells us كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون, that there was also fasting in previous nations had a form of fasting and has been prescribed for you, has been prescribed before, but the specific fasting in Ramadan in the manner that we do it now was made obligatory in the second year of the Hijrah. ويثبت رمضان برؤية عدلين أو جماعة مستفيضة أو بأحدهما عن أحدهما. والجماعة المستفيضة لا حد لها وكلما قربت للعدالة قلت فقد يكتفى فيها بخمسة وبكمال شعبان. So there are three ways here he's mentioning about what's called thubut Ramadan. How do we know Ramadan has commenced? It has begun. This is what we call in Usul al-Fiqh as-sabab. So what is the sabab liwujub Sawm Ramadan? What is the the reason or the prescriptive cause that will now require us and make obligatory on us the fasting? So we know that it's a physical phenomenon, which is the hilal, the new moon or the crescent. The Prophet ﷺ specifically said, صُومُوا لِرُؤْيَتِهِ وَافْطِرُوا لِرُؤْيَتِهِ. So it's not according to the traditional ulama, not the presence of the new moon, but the sighting of the new moon. So he says here, وَيَثْبُتُ رَمَضَانُ بِرُؤْيَةِ عَدْلَيْنِ. So either two upright witnesses see it. So if we have two upright witnesses, oh, I saw the hilal, and they, and people, and we're fairly sure they know what they saw, and then we question about it, then that's one. أو جماعة مستفيضة, or a very large group. Right, and he says the very large group, لا حد لها. There's no specific number about the large group, but he says وكلما قربت للعدالة قلت فقد يكتفى فيها بخمسة. Right, this large group, if like we're pretty sure of their uprightness, then he said even 5 is enough. But large group could be 20, could be 30, so there's no particular amount. But every time we have a larger group, then we're going to be less less discerning about the adala, less discerning about the uprightness or trustworthiness, because if it's a large group, and especially if they come from different places and they were in different places of sighting the moon, then it would be enough to know that that's the beginning of Ramadan. أو بأحدهما عن أحدهما. So in other words, how the khabar reached us, either two sound witnesses stated that we heard from a large group that they saw it, or the opposite, a large group heard from two sound witnesses that they saw it, then this would be the beginning of Ramadan. And if neither of those two things happen, right, on the night of the 29th, بكمال شعبان, then the completion of Sha'ban, 30 days. ومن ليس لهم اعتناء بالأهلة يكفيهم العدل وإذا ثبت بالحكم فأخبر العدل وجب الصوم وإن غم عليهم أو تحدث برؤيته فذلك يوم الشك لا يصام وإنما يندب الإمساك فإن تحقق أنه من رمضان وإلا تناول المفطرات. So the completion of kind of how do we determine the beginning of Ramadan? He said, من ليس لهم اعتناء بالأهلة يكفيهم العدل. So people who may be in a faraway place and they don't every month they don't necessarily check the crescent and so forth, then one person seeing it is enough. وإذا ثبت بالحكم, in other words, if you're in a Muslim country and they state that this is Ramadan, فأخبروا العدل وجب الصوم. Right. So in pre-modern times, we didn't have TV, we didn't have Twitter, we didn't have all these things. So if someone comes and said, "Oh no, the Hakim, the authority said that Ramadan is beginning today because of the witnesses that they found," and an upright person comes and tells you that, then in this scenario, wajib as-sawm, then fasting would be obligatory. Modern times now, we have many ways of finding out different ways. And that principle is generally true. And this I have learned from my teachers as well. If you live in a Muslim country and they declare it to be the first day of fasting, then generally you fast with them and you break your fast with them. Some people are going to ask, well, what if we know certainly it's not the first day and according to moon sighting and so forth? Then still you fast with them, and even if you don't believe it's the first day of Ramadan, because you don't want to cause a problem, you don't want to cause a fitna for people. And also at the end of the month, if they say this is the day to break your fast, then you break your fast with them. If you feel you have some doubt it actually was the last day or the first day of Shawwal, then you can make up that day. That's up to you. But we should go by the, if there's hukm al-hakim, if there's a political authority that has designated as such. Maliki, I don't see this mas'ala here, it's in some of the other books. If I personally see the hilal, and it is rejected by the moon sighting committee, or whoever that I report it to, but I'm certain I saw it, then I fast, even if they rejected my claim, and maybe some members of my household. But again, I don't necessarily have to make a public announcement of this. Because for me personally, I saw it. I think I saw it. They rejected. They said the calculation said it's impossible for you to see it. But I have certainty that I think I saw what I saw. Then in my particular case, then I could fast. And I don't need to kind of make a big public lambasting about it on Facebook. No, keep it quiet, fast. Alhamdulillah. And you think you saw it, and that's what you saw. I know there's a lot of confusion every year in Ramadan we talk about, but at the end of the day, there's different opinions. And yes, the idea of just going by mathematical calculation and not even bothering to cite is a weak opinion, or maybe the weakest opinion, but some countries go by this and some people go by that. We maintain, based from what we learned from our teachers and we learned in the fiqh, that it should be by moon sighting, that we should actually cite the moon. Wallahu a'lam. And then there's a difference of opinion about al-matala, which he doesn't talk about here, which is it a worldwide sighting, global sighting, or is it a local sighting? It's not mentioned in this book, but in Sharh al-Saghir it does say that if you share parts of the night and the day with this particular place, then it's considered like a region. So, but if it's really far away, so Australia and USA don't really share any part of the day or night, then obviously Australia is going to be fasting a different day than the US. And obviously they're very farther east, and so their day is going to be after ours, most likely, for those people in the US and so forth. And there's no issue with any of that. Every country goes by, every region goes by what they feel comfortable with, and perhaps even every masjid. That's just the way it is right now. There are bigger issues I think the ummah has to worry about. When غُمَّ عَلَيْهِمْ, right, if it's cloudy or you can't see it, أو تحدث برؤيته فذلك يوم الشك. Right, so if you can't see it for whatever reason, or the sighting is blocked, right, then that's the day, what's called the day of doubt, which is the next day. So is this the 1st of Ramadan or is this the 30th of Sha'ban? لا يصام. You don't fast that day, right? If you didn't receive a reporting of a sighting, or you couldn't see and you're waiting to hear from someone but nothing happened, it's not a fasting day. وَإِنَّمَا يُنْدَبُ الْإِمْسَاكِ. But what's recommended is you withhold eating. يُنْدَبُ, it's recommended, you don't have to do it. فإن تحقق أنه رمضان وإلا تناول المفطرات. If you find out that it is from Ramadan, then you continue fasting the rest of the day. However, you have to make up the day because you didn't have the proper intention from the beginning, because you didn't know if it was Ramadan or not. But we say, there's a sacrosanctity or a hurma lil waqt. So if this truly is the day of Ramadan, then it doesn't matter if I had the intention beginning or not, then I stop. And we would also say, if you started to eat, and then someone says, no, today is actually the first day of Ramadan, you stop eating. Imsak, right, means to stop eating. You're going to have to make up the day, but it doesn't give you the excuse to keep continuing to eating the rest of the day. وهكذا. وإلا, otherwise you find out, no, it's not Ramadan today, it's tomorrow. خلاص تناول المفطرات, then you can eat. So the imsak then, if you're waiting for a late sighting and you didn't hear about anything, and then Fajr comes up and you still don't know, then refrain from eating until you find out if this is Ramadan or not. But as long as you're in doubt, shak, the intention can't count. You have to be certain, by whatever way that is mentioned here, that this is the beginning of Ramadan. والصوم هو الكف عن شهوات البطن والفرج من طلوع الفجر إلى تمام الغروب في غير زمان حيض ونفاس وعيدي فطر ونحر عليه موجب هدي فعجز بنية واقعة بعد الغروب وقبل الفجر وتكفي في أول ليلة لكل صوم يجب تتابعه فإن انقطع لعذر وجب تجديدها. So he defines Ramadan. What's Ramadan? هو الكف, it is refraining عن شهوات or شهوتي البطن والفرج. So to refrain from the two appetites, so the appetite of the stomach and the appetite of the private parts. So that means any drink, any food, anything that's going to go down the esophagus and go into your stomach, and any sort of sexual intimacy as well. So anything that would cause an orgasm or an ejaculation, whether we're with a spouse or by yourself, it doesn't matter. All of that would be min al-mufattirat. So you'd have to refrain from it. Min tulu' al-fajri, from the beginning of Fajr until Maghrib. Some people notice on their calendars that sometimes it says al-imsak, and they find a specific Ramadan. This is the recommended time to stop eating. The Prophet ﷺ said in some of the hadith that he would stop eating in what is equivalent to reading 50 ayahs of Quran before, so like 40 minutes, half an hour, whatever it might be, before the beginning. But technically you're allowed to eat and drink and engage in sexual intercourse up to Fajr time. That is halal. However, the imsak then means like if you choose to stop a little bit beforehand, then that's okay. إلى تمام الغروب, until complete Maghrib. تمام الغروب means don't just wait for the sun begins to set over the horizon. It has to, the circular part of the sun has to completely come below the horizon. في غير زمن حيض ونفاس. And also for women, not while they're on their menstrual cycle and not when they're in a period of postpartum bleeding. So they are not required to fast, nor is it accepted from them even if they do. So this is a rukhsa, it's a dispensation, and it's also a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that people are not required to fast, and nor are they obligated to do so, and it's something they would make up later. وعيدي فطر ونحر, and also the two Eids. So no one fasts the 2 days of Eid, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Nahr or Eid al-Adha, the Eid after the 10th of the Hijjah, after Hajj. كتاليه لغير من عليه موجب هدي فعجز. Also, the 2 days that come after Ayyam al-Nahr, Ayyam al-Tashriq, it's actually 3 days. لغير من عليه موجب هدي فعجز. Except for the one who is required to slaughter an animal because they have an expiation to do from the Hajj. Then in that particular case, you can fast after the day of Nahr, after the day of after the day of Eid, 10th of Dhul Hijjah, if you have hadi, right? If you have a dhabh to do. بنية واقعة بعد الغروب وقبل الفجر. And the intention has to be after Maghrib and before Fajr in Ramadan. وتكفي في أول ليلة. It's enough that you do it the first night. So the Malikiyah, unlike the Shafi'i school, they say if you have one intention for the whole month, it's okay. But with a condition. As long as you don't break the fasting anywhere along the way. So if you break the fasting due to travel, or a woman has her menstrual cycle, or to sickness, or whatever reason, one of those reasons comes about, then you have to renew the intention when you renew your fasting. Otherwise, the one intention is enough. But it's also a good practice anyway. It's recommended that you renew your intention every night. So the best way to do that is after you break your fast on Maghrib, then you say, okay, I have the intention to fast the next day. And that way you cover from both the Maliki school and the Shafi'i school. وإنما يجب رمضان على مكلف مقيم غير مريض ولا مكره. ويندب للصائم تجديد النية, as we mentioned. So it is obligatory on every mukallaf, everyone who is held legally, morally responsible, muqim, so not traveling, غير مريض, not sick, لا ولا مكره, and not compelled to break their fast. So if someone's compelling, like, gun to your head and said, don't fast, then you don't have to fast. Otherwise, if you're not sick, if you're not traveling, then you are required to fast. And it's recommended for the fasting person to, as we said, تجديد النية, to renew their intention every night. والسحور وتأخيره وتعجيل فطر وكونه على رطبات أو ثمرات ودعاء عنده. It's also recommended the suhoor, or the sahur, which is the pre-dawn meal. وتأخيره, making it late, يعني a little bit before Fajr that you eat it. وتعجيل فطر, and also to break one's fast as soon as you are certain that Maghrib has come in. So there's no extra points for waiting until after Isha or in the middle of the night to break the fast. The best way to break the fast is the prophetic way, which is to break it as soon as Maghrib is certain. وكونه على رطبات أو تمرات ودعاء عنده. And also to break the fast with either fresh dates or dried dates. So rotab is fresh, or dried dates, as was the prophetic practice, and some water if one is able to do so. وَدُعَاءٌ عِنْدَهُ, and to say the dua. وما لك صمت وعرسك أفطرت وعليك توكلت إلى آخره. That's any sort of dua like that to break one's fast. So the best way, obviously, is to break the fast, pray Maghrib, and then if one wants to resume the meal after that, they can. However, it's not haram to eat the meal first and then to pray Maghrib. But it's better, and it's actually both in terms of the rest of your night and in terms of how you're going to digest your food, is to break it with something small first, pray Maghrib, get your system a little chance, and then to resume the meal after that. And also not to resume the meal in a way where you're making up all of the food that you missed during the day in the Maghrib meal. That's kind of breaking going against the spirit of Ramadan. وكف لسان عن فضول القول وكره له ذوق الملح ومقدمات جماعا إن علم السلامة والله أعلم. It's also recommended كف لسان عن فضول القول, right? To hold one's tongue. So there's a fasting of the tongue, imsak lisan, عن فضول القول. So he didn't say lying and cheating and haram things. He's saying fudul. Fudul means things that are just not important, extraneous, superfluous. To avoid saying those things, especially during Ramadan. And that's a type of fasting called Sawm al-Khusus, as Imam al-Ghazali mentioned, which is to stay away from things that even are normally considered permissible or halal, but to avoid doing them, to be more focused. And then Sawm Khusus al-Khusus, which is the fasting of the highest order, which is to even avoid having extraneous thoughts come to one's heart. And the way that one could do that is by also avoiding looking at extraneous things or superfluous things and so forth, and maintaining more of a focus on your fast and on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَقُرِئَ لَهُ ذَوْقِ الْمِلْحِ وَمُقَدِّمَاتُ الْجَمَاعِ إِنْ عَلِمَ السَّلَامَةِ. And it's also disliked, yani makruh, to taste something of the food while you're cooking it, because there's a chance you might swallow it. It's only disliked, it's not haram. ومقدمات جماع, and also any sort of intimate interaction, not intercourse obviously, but something less than that. إن علم السلامة, if you know that you will not lead to orgasm or ejaculation. If you feel like it will, then it's haram. So muqaddimat could be kissing or hugging and that sort of thing. But if you feel like it will not work for you that way, then you should stay away from that as well. Wallahu a'lam. Wallahu a'lam, and Allah knows best. So the next section, I think that we will also read mufsidat as-sawm, that which causes fasting to be invalidated. قال رحمه الله المفسدات نوعان. There are two types of things that will invalidate a fast. ما يوجب القضاء فقط وما يوجبه مع الكفارة. So those certain things that will only require you to make up the day. Yani the one day that you invalidated your fast, you make up one day for it. وَمَا يُجِبُهُ مَعَ الْكَفَّارَةِ. Or the other type is, in addition to the one day, you have something called an expiation, kaffara, if you break it in this way. فالذي يوجبه فقط الفطر لعذر من سفر أو مرض أو نسيان أو إكراه أو تأويل قريب، كمن أصبح في الحضر صائما فسافر وأفطر، أو سافر دون المسافة فأفطر ولو أو لم يثبت الشهر إلا نهارا فظن عدم وجوب الإمساك، ويلحق بذلك مسائل أو مسائل في المطولات. So that which only requires for you to make up the one day, which means you have a valid reason, a valid excuse, includes travel, sickness. What type of sickness? They said 3 types, or 3 understandings of sickness. Either you are sick, and if you fast, it will make you more sick. Or you are sick, and if you fast, it will delay your recovery. Or if you fast, it will bring upon you a sickness. So generally speaking, people who are diabetic, who need to have insulin or need to have kind of a regulated, sugar level throughout the day, and that includes from their diet, are generally they're not required to fast, and nor should they fast if it's going to be something that's going to be detrimental to their health. So traveling, sickness, travel also, you're not required, but you can. Again, it depends upon the type of travel. If you're only traveling Masafat al-Qasr, which is 50 miles, and let's say you're a commuter and you commute to work every day, 50 miles, and you say, oh, I don't have to fast any day. True, but you still have to make it up. So if you're driving for 45 minutes or an hour, the 50 miles, then generally we'll say you should fast. Because there's not kind of necessarily a hardship in fasting in that. But if you're on a plane and you're going to go across time zones and your day will be made longer because you're traveling west, for example, and so you're going to add 10 hours to your day of fasting, then in that case we'd say you're a traveler. You're not required to fast. However, even with the traveler, keep in mind that if you travel after Fajr, you have to fast. So the travel has to commence before Fajr. But once Fajr comes in and you're still a resident, it's obligatory upon you. So we say if you're going to get on a plane or you're going to go somewhere crossing time zones, then remain fasting until you feel like you can't maintain your fast because it's too long or it's too difficult. Then you would have the excuse not to fast due to sickness, not to the travel, because the travel commenced after Fajr. The next day when you get there, if you're staying 3 days, less than 4 days, then you can also not fast when you arrive. But if you plan to stay a week, then as soon as you arrive, you would have to intend fasting the next day. أو إكراه, as we said, someone who is compelled, also not required to fast, they would make it up. أو تأويل قريب, or what they say as plausible excuse or plausible interpretation, even though it's wrong. Like what? He says, كمن أصبح في الحضر صائما فسافر وأفطر. Like what we just mentioned, أصبح في الحضر, someone who woke up like after Fajr and they're resident fasting. Then فسافر, right? And then, before Dhuhr, we're going to travel, go on a plane. It's like, okay, we're traveling, I can eat. So the flight attendant comes and brings him something to drink. He drinks it. Well, I'm traveling. Then later he's told, no, that's actually not right. Your fasting commenced after Fajr. But this is what's called ta'wil qarib. So it wasn't like an intentional trying to get around the rules. So you don't only have to make up the day. أو سافر دون المسافة فأفطر. Or someone who traveled, but it turned out to be 35 miles and he thought it was 48. Then in that case also, just make up the day. أو لم يثبت الشهر إلا نهارا فظن عدم وجود الإمساك. Or, as we mentioned earlier, you woke up, you said, okay, I don't know if it's Ramadan or not, no one told me anything, so you're eating and drinking, and then someone says, it's actually Ramadan. And you said, yeah, but I already broke my fast, and you keep eating. No, يجب الإمساك. You have to stop eating. So that day, you'd only make up, you don't have to do the kafara, the expiation. ويلحق بذلك مسائل في المطولات. There are other scenarios that are described in some of the longer books. Um, like someone who thinks it's actually Maghrib and it's not. Like it's cloudy, like, is it Maghrib? I don't see the sun, it's dark. I think it's Maghrib. And then you decide to eat, and then the clouds go away, and oh my God, the sun is still out. Then in this case, you would only do the one day you'd have to make up. So even though you missed by a few minutes, you make the one day. And in the commentary here, it says that actually happened to Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab and a group of the Tabi'een with him. ومما يجب فيه القضاء فقط, also amongst the cases of where you only have to make up the one day, وصول ماء إلى الحلق من منفذ أعلى ولو ضاق كمسام الشعر, فمن قطر في عينه أو أذنه أو دهن رأسه بعد الفجر ووصل إلى الحلق قبل الغروب قضى. So also things he said here that include you only have to make the one day. If you use something that doesn't go through your mouth, but some of the other openings, your orifices, and you felt it in your tongue and in your throat, and it goes down in your stomach, like what? Like, you know, this is theoretical, but let's say you use shampoo or water, and you have a case where your pores from your head reach your stomach, reach into your throat, or your eye or your ear, right? Definitely the ear is connected, ear, nose, and throat, they're all connected. Definitely your nose. So you could take in something through your nose or your ear, and it can reach your throat. Then in this case, if you did that after Fajr, and then you taste it in your mouth and it goes down, then technically you broke your fast. So in this case, you'd only make up the one day. However, if you did it at night, let's say I put my eye drops in before I go to sleep, and then I wake up, and then I feel like my eye drop taste is in my mouth. Have I broken my fast? No, because you put them in before Fajr, before you had to start your fast. So in this case, that also applies, like, let's say you had your dinner and you fell asleep, you didn't floss. You wake up the next day, a piece of food that was between your teeth goes down. Did you break your fast? No, you didn't, because it was already in your mouth when the fasting was supposed to begin. As opposed to someone who introduces something after Fajr, then that's different. Then that would break the fast, ma'al kaffara, with the expiation. وبالحقنة من دبر أو فرج امرأة إن وصلت إلى المعدة. This is not true, but you know, if something reaches through the anus or from the vaginal opening, but we know that to be impossible now. I think you can't actually, that will not reach the stomach. So in this case, we don't say that that it will break the fast. وبأكل مع شك في فجر أو غروب. Or also, if someone ate and they're doubtful about whether the Fajr actually came in or Maghrib came in, as we said, then they make up the day. وبوصول ما تتكيف به النفس اختيارا من بخار أو دخان إلى الحلق كسبق مضمضة إليه وبخروج قيء اختيارا ولم يرجع منه شيء أو خرج غلبة وراجع غلبة وإلا فالكفارة. So he also mentions the cases where we only have to make up the day. Something that comes in like bukhur yani, smoke, right? And you take it in, and that would only require you to make up the day, because it has a madda. It has it's not just, you know, smoke comes from something that was already a solid, and it comes in, then that is a type of breaking of the fast. But then you don't have to do the expiation, just do the one day. أو كسبق مضمضة, or you're rinsing your mouth, oh, a drop went down, and you felt it for sure, make up the day only. All of these cases, by the way, it does not give you the excuse to continue to eat after. So if I'm rinsing my mouth in the morning, making wudu for Fajr, right, and the drop went down, I said, oh, I broke my fast, okay, where's the cheeseburger from last night? That. You still have to fast, continue to refrain from eating the whole rest of the day, and you make up the day later, after Ramadan. وبخروج قيء اختيارا, right, if you throw up purposefully, اختيارا, ولم يرجع منه شيء, right? Like all came out, didn't go back down, right? So you made yourself throw up versus you were compelled to throw up, then there's no makeup in that. But if you made yourself throw up, then that breaks the fast, and you only have to make up the one day if nothing went back down. أو خرج غلبة ورجع غلبة وإلا فالكفارة. Or غلبة means you threw up, you were sick, and then it went down back down your throat. Then only make up the day. However, low تقيأ غلبة, if it comes out, you were compelled to do so, and you didn't swallow it again, then you don't have to make up anything. Continue fasting, your day counts. وبخروج المذي بلذة ولو بسبب منه. Or the excretion for a man or of a woman, actually, madhi, which is pre-seminal fluid. So not a full ejaculation, but kind of the muqaddimat, that which comes before. You'd have to make up the day for that. Even if from what you did it because you watched a program or something, whatever happened, doesn't matter, then you make up the day. وكذلك من عادته السلامة بالمباشرة فباشر فخرج منه مني. Also for someone who usually, if they have just not intercourse, but just like regular kissing, hugging, or touching or something like that, and then they ejaculated and they didn't expect that to happen, they didn't do it on purpose, in other words, then they would make up the day and they don't have to do the expiation or the kafara. So all those cases, you only make up the day. Now the case where you would have to do more than the day, which is the next part, فصل النوع الثاني ما يجب فيه الكفارة مع القضاء. So make up the day and do the expiation. صوم نهارا والأكل والشرب بالفم والجماع بخروج المني ولو بإدامة فكر أو نظر إلا لمن عادته السلامة إذا وقع شيء من ذلك عمدا دون تأويل قريب كراء لم يقبل ومفطر لركبة حمى أو حيد ولو حصل ولحجامة وغيبة. So what are the cases where you have to do the expiation? Basically, if you eat or drink or have any sort of sexual activity on purpose. In other words, you knew you were doing it purposefully, and you're breaking حرمة Ramadan. You're breaking the hurma, the sacrosanctity of the day. So he says here, أكل والشرب بالفم. So anything that you eat or drink by way of the mouth, except if you did it forgetfully. In the Malikiya, they say if you did it forgetfully, you continue fast the rest of the day, but you have to make up the day. Other schools of thought say no, you did it forgetfully, wasn't with intention. But for the Malikis, it's no, you purposefully ate, you just didn't realize you were in Ramadan. So you'd have to make up the day. But if I purposefully say like, oh, this is Ramadan, I don't care, I'm going to eat, that requires expiation, which we'll talk about in a second what that is. And also if you intend, even before you eat and you say, you know what, I'm not fasting the rest of this day, even before you ate something. This is called رفع النية. You lifted the intention. والجماع, sexual intercourse. Or خروج المني, so excretion or ejaculation of semen. ولو بإدامة فكر أو نظر, even if it's by thinking about something or looking at something, not actual touching, but you استدمت, right? You continued until you actually ejaculated, then in this case you would have to do the expiation as well because it was purposeful. إلا لمن عادته السلامة, as we said before, except for someone who usually that doesn't happen to them. They didn't expect this to happen, but someone who purposefully did it, they do the expiation. إذا وقع شيء من ذلك عمدا, right? If this happens purposefully. دون تأويل قريب, as we mentioned earlier, not for someone who has like a plausible interpretation. Right? كراء لم يقبل ومفطر لركبة حم أو حيد ولو حصل ولحجامة وغيبة. So تأويل قريب, like someone who broke their fast because they expected that they were going to get a fever now, or that she was going to get her period today, and she's checking her days. Oh, definitely I'm getting my period today. That's called ta'wil qarib. You can't break your fast until it actually comes. Right? So that would not require an expiation, as he said. وَلَوْ حَصَلَ, right? Which means is, okay, I know I get my period today, And then so I tended not to fast. I didn't fast today. Then it actually came at Asr. So technically, that's not a day I would have fasted anyway. It doesn't matter. You shouldn't have done that until it actually happened. So you'd have to make up that day, in whatever case. وَلِحِجَامَةٍ وَغِيبَةٍ. So also, if you thought it was okay to break your fast because you did hijama, you'd have to make up the day. Or if you thought it was okay to break your fast because of ghiba. So you said, oh, I was backbiting that person. And the Quran says it's like you're eating the dead flesh of your brother, so I broke my fast. That's called ta'wil ba'id. That's called implausible interpretation. In that case, you have to do the expiation. So the only one of those that you're allowed not to do the expiation is the hijama, is the blood cupping. Otherwise, all those other ones where you purposely break the fast because you're waiting for your period and so forth, this is what's called a ta'wil al-ba'id, implausible interpretation. Plausible interpretation, okay, I thought it was actually Maghrib and I broke my fast. But this one is not very excusable if you think because you were backbiting somebody that it's okay to break your fast. So that's how they divide it, ta'wil qarib and ta'wil ba'id. So plausible and implausible. The plausible one, you only have to make up the day. Implausible one, you have to do the full kafara. Now he describes what the kafara is. وَالْكَفَّارَةُ إِطْعَامُ 60 مِسْكِينًا لِكُلِّ مِسْكِينٍ مُدٍّ أو صوم شهرين متتابعين أو عتق رقبة مؤمنة بلا شائبة ولا عيب مما يأتي في الظهار ولا يلفق كأن يطعم 30 ويصوم شهرا. So he says that the kafara is of three types, and in the Malikiyya it's bil ikhtiyar. So there's no particular order of what you choose, you get to choose which one you want to do. So either you feed 60 people in need, each one of them gets a mud, right? And a mud we said is about 3 cups of food. So when we said zakah, we said that's 4 amdad, so this is 1/4 of that for each of the 60 people. So that's 60 amdad, right, that you're going to have to feed. Or صوم شهرين متتابعين, or you fast 2 consecutive months, 60 consecutive days. أو عتق رقبة مؤمنة, which is not available to us now, which is to free a person who's in bondage. So the 2 choices that remain are either to feed 60 people for every day that you miss, or to fast 2 months continuously for every day that you miss. وَلَا يُلَفِّقُ, and you can't mix and match. So you can't fast 30 days and then feed 30 people. You have to choose one. ولا قضاء في غالب من كذباب أو غبار طريق أو دقيق لصانع. Now there are certain things you don't even have to make up the day. Don't worry about it. Like what? Something that's ghalib, like it just happened, you can help it. You're walking down the street, you open your mouth and a fly comes in your mouth. Like you didn't swallow the fly, he just flew in. No qada, you don't continue fasting. أو غبار طريق, or dust from the road, same thing. أو دقيق لصانع, or someone who's works with flour, a baker, and some of the flour, came in and without intention, then those things do not require makeup. وجاز سواك كل النهار ومضمضة لعطش, and it's permissible to use the siwak, which is the toothbrush, right, all day. Why does he say كل النهار? Because here he's showing the difference between the Maliki and the Shafi'i. The Shafi'i say after Asr that one should not use the siwak, because based upon the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that khuluf as-sa'im, that the smell of the breath of the sa'im is better than al-misk, right? It's better than the misk and Allah. So in the akhirah, it has even though it may not smell very nice in our reality, but in the reality of the akhirah, it's like misk. The Imam Malik interpreted that hadith, not that one should stop using the siwak, the toothbrush, but he means that metaphorically, figuratively, that the khuluf itself whatever the smell is better or is like misk. So he said use the toothbrush all day. But again, one has to be careful that it's a dry one, not a wet one, and that nothing comes down the throat. وَمَضْمَضَةٌ لَعَطَشٍ. And also you can rinse your mouth if you're very thirsty. But again, careful that you don't swallow anything. وفطر بسفر قصر إن بيت الفطر فإن بيت الصوم ثم أفطر فعليه الكفارة. And also to break your fast if you're doing the safar qasr, which is 48 miles or more, in bayat al-fitr, if you have the intention and you start to travel before fajr. That also means bayata, yani the night before. فإن بيت الصوم ثم أفطر. However, if you intend to fast and then you leave after fajr, then you break your fast after fajr, فعليه الكفارة. Then you'd have to pay the kafara, which is the expiation because you purposely did that. وتكفر المرضع إذا خافت على ولدها وجوبا بمد من طعام عن كل يوم كمن فرط في قضاء رمضان حتى دخل عليه رمضان آخر وليتقرب بذكرار الأعوام. So the nursing mother specifically, if feels that she's not going to have enough milk for her child, then she has to, for every day, she pays a mud, right, which is the 3 cups of food for every day that she misses. Also, the one who would also have to pay a mud for every day that they miss is someone who has days to make up, and then the next Ramadan comes and they didn't make up those days. So for each of those days, they have to pay 1 mud for they didn't make up if another comes in. وَلْيَتَقَرَّبْ بِذِكْرَارِ الْأَعْوَامِ. And they only have to do it once, so it's not like it's compounded every year you add. No, just the 1 year. If you didn't make them up for the year that came in, then you pay a mud for the year, for the days that you didn't make up before the new Ramadan came in from the year previously. وَنُدِبَ تَعْجِيلُ الْقَضَاء وَتَتَابِعُهُ. And it's recommended to do the qada, to make up as fast as you can or as soon as you can, and to do them consecutively if you can. Also, now here goes on to the recommended things about fasting, which we'll end with. وَصِيَامُ ثَلَاثَةِ أَيَّامٍ مِنْ كُلِّ شَهْرٍ. To fast the 3 days from every month. Imam Malik didn't specifically say Ayyam al-Bid, which is the 13th, 14th, and 15th, the full moon nights, but he said generally any 3 days. And in some riwayat it says the first day and the middle day of the month and the last day of the month. وَالْإِثْنَيْنِ وَالْخَمِيسِ. Mondays and Thursdays, this was the fast of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وَالتِّسْعَةِ الْأُوَلِ مِنْ ذِي الْحِجَّةِ. And the first 9 days of Dhul Hijjah, and also of Muharram, and the whole month of Sha'ban, any number of days in the month of Sha'ban. As the Prophet ﷺ, his practice also was to fast many, many days in Sha'ban. وَتَأَكَّدَ يَوْمُ عَرَفَةِ. And it's a stronger or a very strong sunnah to fast the day of Arafah, which is the 9th of the Hijjah. وَعَشُورَى, the 10th of Muharram. And to do the 9th or the 11th after that too. وَسِتَّةٍ مِنْ شَوَّالٍ. This one, some of the Maliki texts say that the Sitta min Shawwal actually is makruh, was disliked by Imam Malik, because in some regions he found that the practice was people did the 6 immediately after Ramadan, and then people thought that Ramadan was 36 days. So some of the later Maliki said that is no longer a consideration. People don't really think that. So the 6th of Shawwal then is something that that could be mandub or could be done. وَكُرِهَ وَصْلُهَا بِالْعِيدِ وَفِي نَفْسِهَا. As he mentions here, and it's disliked to do it immediately after the Eid for that reason. ومن أفطر في التطوع بما يوجب الكفارة في رمضان وجب عليه القضاء. And if someone is fasting a voluntary fast day, not Ramadan, في التطوع, and normally it would require الكفارة, right? You purposely break your fast. وجب عليه القضاء. That means you only have to make up the day, not to do the kafara, because it's a voluntary fasting day. But you still should make up the day. when أفطر ناسيا أتمه وهو على أجره. And if you break your fast, as we said, forgetfully, أتمه, right? You continue, and وهو على أجره. You get the reward, but you have to make it up. when أفطر في القضاء ناسيا لم يجزئه وهو له الإفطار والأفضل إتمامه. However, if you break your fast in the qada, nasiyan, forgetfully, then lam yujzi'hu. He still has to make up that day sometime else. And you can also continue to eat. وَالْأَفْضَلُ إِتْمَامُهُ. But the better thing is, even in the qada day, the makeup day, is to continue to fast. Wallahu ta'ala a'la wa a'lam. We'll stop here, inshallah. The last section of Atikaf next time, and then we'll go into Hajj with that. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.